Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise account. I'm Griffin Aldrich. Alongside me, we got Daniel Miguel, and we have some breaking news. The Boston Celtics have signed Charles Bassey to a 10-day contract. Wow. I gotta say, Daniel, we've been waiting for different news. I think we've been waiting for a Harper contract or something, but Charles Bassey is back, and it's no surpriser because you look at it. Vucevic goes down with that injury, and he's out till playoffs. Now Charles Bassey on a 10-day contract. Gonna be interesting. This is a guy that you were primarily big on in summer league because he is no stranger to the team. He was on the Celtics in summer league. Now he's back on the team. Daniel, how are you feeling about this contract?
Obviously, like you said, with Vooch being gone till playoffs, I think it's a good pickup. Um, uh, I still don't know if he's gonna get the Chris Boucher treatment for these 10 days. I don't know if he's gonna get the John Tonji treatment with the Celtics, but yeah, it's still a good pickup considering we're down one center. So yeah, not like I said before we started, not as hype about this one as I was in the summer league, but still a good pickup in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a different outlook. In at the beginning, we're looking desperate for a center. We don't know how Nemias Queta is going to perform. You don't know how guys like Luka Garza are going to perform. And you see a red hot center in the summer league, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is screaming Boston Celtics. However, you get a guy like Vucevic, and now you've seen what Amari Williams can do. Does this kind of take away Amari Williams' minutes, do you think, or no? Because
Uh,
I yeah, go ahead for it, Daniel. Do you think it takes
yeah,
away his minutes?
I was gonna talk a little bit about that. I think this kind of like just proves it a little bit more where Joe Mazzulla stands on Amari Williams. We're gonna see in the next few days what this tend actually means. If he ends up playing for the Celtics, like actually getting minutes, then I think it means that Joe considers Amari like not NBA ready yet. I think that's what we can concur from it. But yeah, if he's just like another guy on the team, if he's just gonna be like sitting on the bench, I guess Amari has a little bit more hope, and Amari fans like me have a little bit more hope about his place on the team.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think if you see a guy like Charles Bassey get those minutes instead of Amari Williams, it just shows that he's not quite ready to be out there. And they show trust in him. I mean, if they didn't show trust in him, they wouldn't have given him a 2-year contract. But on top of that, I think you're looking at a guy like Charles Bassey who could affect the team right now. And we talked on episode 91. Everyone go check it out after this, about Ron Harper Jr. and the contract, because I know the Ron Harper Jr. fan page is going to be in the comments. This is still comfortable for me because, again, the Celtics are still trying to stay underneath that luxury tax. And you bring in a guy like Bassey, I think this could do the roster some good right now while Vucevic is out. And then David said it, the last day of the season, Ron Harper Jr. could still get that contract. Ron Harper Jr. could still get a contract right before, because financial restrictions and everything. You don't want to go above the luxury tax again. But I look at this. This is a good move, and this will help the team come right before playoff. Obviously, it's a small sample size. It's 10 days. Like, you're not going to get a lot from this, but it's still something. And I like it. I think this is a guy who, he still has a lot to prove. I thought bringing in Delano Banton to the roster kind of was maybe an audition. I think Andrew or David said, when you had him on the roster, you were auditioning him for other people. Maybe the Celtics weren't going to give him that contract. However, he got to play out there and kind of showcased his skills a little bit more. I think the same goes for Charles Bassey. I don't see him being on the Celtics long term, but maybe he could go out there and ball like he did in summer league and get himself a contract elsewhere. Do you agree with that, Daniel, or do you think something else? Do you think potentially if he balls out, maybe the Celtics have a tag on him?
I think I could see him balling out somewhere. I don't know. I think I agree with you. I don't see him as a long-term acquisition for the team. I think this is just kind of like a temporary adjustment. So yeah, I think if he does end up proving himself, I think there's other teams out there that need a center that are more desperate for a center than us. So I think, yeah, that's where he ends up going.
Yeah, and I like Charles Bassey. Like I was very strong on wow, like and when we let him walk in after summer league, I was like, I think both of us were kind of like, oh, this is a guy who he's screaming Celtics, but it worked out for the Celtics. It worked out. But now, again, you're letting him come in and show because again, I think, you look at it in summer league, he did the Celtics a solid. Like, I mean the Celtics helped him out getting to showcase his skills, but now coming back to Boston, they're giving him another opportunity. And especially with Vucevic out, and, just a guy like, obviously you have guys like Luca Garza and Namias Keita, but I think Namias Keita played less minutes last game too. Maybe you want to kind of reserve those guys a little more for playoffs as well. Like maybe you want to give a guy like Amari Williams more time and kind of let those guys rest upcoming to playoffs, to be injury management. Maybe Charles Bassey is another guy that you could throw into the mix and, run some heavy minutes on him. I don't know. But I kind of like this move because it's low risk, high reward at the end of the day. You get productivity out of him. And like you said though, Daniel, that's if even the Celtics play him a lot. You might see him be like a Delano Banton or a Chris Boucher, comes into the team, doesn't really get a lot of minutes, plays on the bench, comes in garbage time. Do you see that more so being the outcome? Because I kind of see like this is a guy that we kind of put some minutes on.
Um, I'm not sure. I'm just kind of going off of how we like the fact that we didn't pick him up at the end of summer league. So I feel
Yep.
like since we were more desperate for center at the time and we still didn't get him at like then, I just feel like now when we have even more centers and even more depth, I just feel like it'll be it's just be the same story. I just feel like um Joe Mazzulla sees a little bit in him, but like I don't think he sees enough to give him those minutes, and to kind of fit him more into the rotation. I think this is just kind of like just to see where he's at, just to see if maybe we need him, just to see if he's ready and fits in with the team and stuff like that. But yeah, for right now, I don't see much happening in the near future other than this 10-day contract.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, they could give him some wear and tear during this 10-day contract because again, like, guys like Luca Garza, Namias Keita, even Amari Williams getting ready for a playoff run. This is a guy that you could put some minutes on. But looking long term, you have Vucevic that will be back when playoffs come. That's one center. You have Namias Keita, who is your starting center. You have Luca Garza, who has been a phenomenal addition coming off the bench. And you have Amari Williams, who is a young prodigy that you're trying to develop into being a guy like a Robert Williams or a Namias Keita. Then you have Charles Bassey. You don't need five centers on the team. Like, let's be honest, like Charles Bassey, like I think, it's strong to do this while Vucevic is out. But if anything, I feel like they would give that contract to a Ron Harper Jr. because I just don't see them giving it to a fifth center. Like that just doesn't
Yeah,
seem realistic. That's
it
a
doesn't
whole
make sense at all.
starting five of centers. It's like if you want to play big man rotation, all right, let's throw five centers out there, but that's not realistic. And I just do you have anything you wanted to add on to that though, Daniel?
Oh, maybe if he does end up showing us something, maybe we might, is there like a rule on how many 10 days we can give to like players? Because I think I see him as like a continuous 10-day contract guy until Vucevic comes back. Maybe if he ends up showing us that he deserves more time with the team and that we need him.
I feel like you could. I don't see why not. I think if they really like him a lot, but it makes no sense because G League is coming towards the end. But just contract wise, maybe you see them if they signed Ron Harper Jr. to a standard deal, maybe just sign him to a 2A, but doesn't really make a lot of sense to do that.
Yeah,
Um, I think this is my kind of thing about it. I just think it's smart to do it while Vucevic is out because then you kind of give him minutes. This is a guy that, they're not going to look to go for in playoffs. So you could kind of give some wear and tear on him right now. and kind of let him soak up some of the minutes while also showcasing his skills and saying, hey, I am still a guy that is totally ready and available to play in the NBA, and potentially have him get himself a contract elsewhere. Because you said it, there are teams, so many places where that are dying for a center. But do you have any final thoughts, Daniel, before we close out?
Yeah. Uh, Obviously, this impacts a lot more than just Charles Bassey. It impacts the rest of our centers that are on the team right now. And I think specifically, like just one player that comes to mind is one we've mentioned, Amari Williams. I don't know what's going to happen with him development wise, with the Celtics, because we've said before that or at least I personally think he should be part of that playoff roster, and it should be getting those minutes come playoff time, if need be. But at the moment, we haven't seen much NBA level experience with Amari, so I'm just kind of a little bit concerned for him about that with this signing of Charles Bassey, especially if it ends up turning into something that could be a little bit more long term until Vucevic comes back. So yeah, I think this impacts Amari more than anyone, in my opinion. So just I'll just like to keep an eye out and see what happens in that standpoint.
Yeah, I think, and this will be my final thoughts. I think for Amari, I think, this just shows that Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics are just not ready for him at the
Yeah,
NBA level yet. But I do believe that, giving that contract to him, they totally trust him and they think he's going to be a guy that really impacts this team in the future. But Charles Bassey is a guy who's more NBA experienced and kind of can help the team right now. Whereas you throw Amari Williams out there, he's still going to be learning. He's a guy who I've seen, go out there and sometimes, doesn't attack the glass so aggressively. And that's just will come with time. And I like this move because this brings yet another center into the organization that Amari can learn from.
that's true.
Charles Bassey is a guy who I think can even help enhance Amari Williams. I mean, he's been around Vucevic, who is a veteran in this league who has helped him. And Namias Keita, who's been through the same development process as Amari Williams. Luka Garza, who's been an end of the rotation guy that kind of comes in and can show Amari how to do things. Now Charles Bassey, another guy who has played a significant amount of minutes in the NBA and can really help Amari. So I kind of like this for Amari. In a sense, I think it could help him out, but we'll see tonight. You guys could join us after the game too with the Wizards as we will break it down with you. But with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications to be notified every time we upload. We will see you guys with the next one. Peace, you guys.